Okay.
We'll call this meeting to order. Would you please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag? I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Can I have a roll call, please?
Hannah,
Yes.
Callahan. Here. Rodriguez.
Here.
Hill,
Here.
Scharf,
Here.
Kurtz.
Here.
O'Laughlin.
Yes.
Thank you. Next, I need a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
So move.
Second.
I do have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion is carried. Nothing is signed in. Nobody called in for public forum. Okay. Then I'm down to, I need a motion to accept and approve the consent agenda that approves the following: minutes of the June 28th, 2021 regular meeting, minutes of the July 6th, 2021 special meeting, Bill's Pizza and Smokehouse Class C liquor license, outdoor service, Sunday sales, and catering, July 20th, 2021 through July 19th, 2022. Chung Garden Class B beer permits and Sunday sales license, July 1st, 2021 through June 30th, 2022.
So move.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion is carried. Next, I need a motion to approve claims for payment.
I have questions about it. I had citizens that have contacted me with questions. They wondered about the $2,200 for an underground tank with Blackhawk Environmental Testing.
That's the underground storage tank program that we've been working with on First Street East, across the street from the library, that is funded by the DNR, what do they call it, Unsuspecting Property Owner Grant Program. That's all reimbursed through the DNR, but we have to pay it and then get reimbursed. That is the Tier 3 report. They're getting ready to close this out and make it a minimum risk site, but this is just the latest bill in the process. So at this point, we haven't paid anything for this project other than what's been reimbursed by the state.
They also had a question on the Rotary Meals membership, $238.
Depends on, I mean, for mine, that is my Rotary membership, that's a quarterly membership. Was that?
And Mayor's.
And Mayor's.
That's both of them.
Okay, I'll pass that on. I don't know why we're paying it, but I'll pass it on.
That was a requirement request when I was hired, and it was put into the employment agreement, so it is part of the.
You're required to be a part of Rotary?
I was asked to be a part of a service club when I came to town. That was one of the pieces that was part of that, and it was to the point where they put it into the employment agreement.
Okay, so.
It has been since I came in 2014.
Didn't know that. And so and that was part of the employment agreement that the city paid it?
Yes.
They wondered about Eshin Clothing uniform allowance.
Without looking at the specific bill, I'm guessing that that would be for either streets or utilities. Most of our work clothes have come through Eshin's because he can get the price for us.
Okay.
But again, if you come in and let me know ahead of time, I can get you that information, tell you exactly who it's for and what we purchased for it.
Yeah, I wasn't aware that there was any uniform allowance with the city at all.
Public Works, including utilities
I
and
knew the
street
boots
department.
did, but
Boots, but we also have a uniform allowance for our Public Works employees, that's correct.
Classy yellow shirts.
Yeah, the fancy ones.
then they wondered about, and these are all the people that were so happy about the garbage pickup. Dues and memberships of $9,223 for City Hall.
Well, again, I'd have to pull that bill to tell you exactly what all is covered on that. ICMA is covered. The city clerk's membership for the,
What's the vendor, Mike?
I don't know, they just said it was under dues and membership for $9,223 through,
Who was it? Who was the check made out to?
I don't know.
We're-
Isn't it
we're
listed on the
bringing
claim?
that up, Mike.
They said it was under revenues and expenses, the city or building or something.
Is this in the financial reports or in the
Or in the
payables?
claims? Is this in the claims, or is this in the next one where the revenue?
Oh, this is
and-
in the next one, just skip it. Well, don't skip it, but.
I still needed a motion to approve the claims.
Oh, so moved. Unless anybody's more questions.
Any other questions for claims? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion is carried. Now we're down to revenue and expenses to date. There are several items there. You know which one you were talking about, Mike?
They said,
City administration, building?
not sure.
Under meetings, conferences, and miles, under mayor, council, city manager, there's 9,000 budgeted, but there's nothing spent this fiscal year. If that's what you're looking at.
This one's, they said $9,223.
Oh, yeah,
That's what
that's,
the budget amount is.
that's line
no
620, 6210.
Because we just
And that's
started the
we just
fiscal
started the
year,
fiscal
didn't we?
year, so.
Yeah.
That's what I thought. When they said that, I said it's probably what's allocated for the upcoming fiscal year.
Yeah.
And that would include the city council's membership to the Iowa League of Cities, your, like I said, ICMA is covered in there.
Chamber.
Do we have
Chamber-
intercog?
Well, chamber comes out of a separate line item, it doesn't come out of this one.
Intercog?
Intercog would be, I believe that one comes out of a separate line item
Okay.
from this. But this would be what is covered for the year, that's correct.
Anything else? I don't need a motion on that, that's strictly for your information. So we are down to,
I still like those because then people actually do see where each department's spending their money, so that's good reports.
yep. Next item on the agenda is a motion to receive and file proof of publication to notice a public hearing for the proposed plan specifications, form of contract, and estimate of cost for the 6th Avenue Southwest PCC Trail Project.
I'd make a motion.
Second.
You have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion is carried. Next, I need a motion to hold the public hearing.
Second.
I do have a motion and a second to hold the public hearing. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carried. We are now in public hearing for 6th Avenue Southwest PCC Trail Project. Any additional questions, or?
Just talking from Lover's Lane to Bland Boulevard.
That's correct. On the west side of the road.
It would resolve the corner issue.
It does address the corner of Bland and 6th Avenue with the hill, the retaining wall, and it includes some landscaping around that corner.
There's going to be a crosswalk for pedestrians to go across.
To the north. On Bland, it'll go to the side, connect with the sidewalk on the north side of Bland Boulevard. On the south, it crosses over to the south side of Lover's Lane to the sidewalk that's part of Old Subdivision.
But there'll be something marked.
Yes.
Is that the corner of 6th Avenue Southwest and Bland? Going through some stuff, I saw we had a artist rendition, or will that sort of be the way it's going to be?
That will be the general idea. I don't know, Brian, if you had anything further on that. It's, basically, it's a retaining wall to
Yeah.
hold that hill back, allowing enough space to put the trail with the proper setback from the street. The plans call for a
think it's up to 6.5 foot high retaining wall at some parts along there, and then it declines from there, but it's, as Al said, it's in an effort to take up the grade difference between that high hill that's there on the corner and what will be the path that's down adjacent to the roadway.
And the fence on the top of that retaining wall is,
Is vinyl. It's a PVC coated chain link fence. Yep.
we're required to have, because of the elevation difference, there has to be a fence along there.
As a protective measure. Yep.
Yeah, I think the drawing we had didn't show the fence at the top.
Correct, the drawing showed shrubs or
Yeah.
bushes across there. We weren't able to get any clarification from the property owner as to preferences, so we went with the chain link fence at this time. That is something that could change, I guess, but at this point,
It's going to look an awful lot like the retaining wall and chain link fence that's down in front of the Casey's facility that was part of the Highway 150 Price Drive Phase 1 trail.
We may have to be discussing stop signs at a couple of those intersections once the trail's in.
that is a
Land and whatever. Any other conversation on this? Thank you, Brian. Hearing nothing, I will ask for a motion to close the public hearing. We do have a motion and a second to close the public hearing. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, the same. Motion is carried. We are out of public hearing. Next, I have a resolution finally approving and confirming plan specifications, former contract. An estimate for the 6th Avenue
So
trail.
moved.
Second.
Okay. You probably want a roll call on this one, don't you? Okay.
Callahan?
Yes.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Hill?
Yes.
Scharf?
Yes.
Kurtz?
Yes.
O'Laughlin?
Yes.
Hannah?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion is carried. Next is consideration of bids for the project. You're going to get your
Yes.
exercise tonight, aren't you?
Yes. We did receive 4 bids on behalf of the city. Those bids ranged from $312,461 to $375,938. We do recommend award to the low bidder, Boomerang out of Anamosa. They do have significant trail and road building experience, and we recommend award.
We don't do anything around here before, Brian.
Not in the city of Independence, but we have, Crawford Engineering has experience working with them up in Owine on a
Okay.
project up there. Yep, no reservations about it at all.
And did I see the bids did come in higher than what we
They
were
did.
thinking?
Yep, they did. Our engineer's estimate was right around $287,000. So with that low bid coming in at $312,000, it was certainly more than what we anticipated.
Is part of that because of all the construction and difficulty getting material, that type of stuff?
It's real difficult to speculate, but I think that's certainly a reasonable expectation we've seen in the industry, certainly steel prices, lumber prices, fuel prices, all the prices have gone up. Hopefully they're starting to taper off and they'll come back down, but
Budget-wise, we're okay with the difference?
I think we'll be okay on this one. There's about $26,000 difference. We do have some other projects that are coming in favorable, so I think we're going to be fine.
Okay. Thank you, Brian.
sure.
Isn't a lot of too, Brian, from what I hear, they really don't have to look for work as hard as they had to because of the situation we're in.
And-
Not completely Independence, I mean the industry.
Contractors are busy, yep. And we're hearing that a lot of them are having a lot of trouble finding help to complete the work, so. Yep, you're welcome.
We are looking at getting this done yet this fall.
There is a November 1st completion date on the project, so yes, contractors prepared to complete it this year.
Do you think it would have worked better had we bid it in the spring? And
It's hard to say. Some of the spring prices were higher than anticipated, too.
really?
Yeah, I mean, our January pricing was pretty good, but beyond that, we've seen prices come in early, or come in higher. And I think our estimate was made in May. Could be the difference between what we were seeing January, February, March versus the middle of the year.
Well, sure.
So it's really hard to say.
Okay, next I need a motion to approve a resolution awarding the contract to Boomerang, is that what it's called, for the 6th Avenue Southwest PCC Trail Project.
So moved.
Second.
Got all those names, did you, Susie?
So,
Could I have a roll call, please?
Rodriguez,
Yes.
Hill,
Yes.
Scharf,
Yes.
Kurtz.
Yes.
O'Laughlin.
Yes.
Hannah,
Yes.
Callahan.
Yes.
Thank you, motion is carried.
We will begin working with the contractor to get contracts back to you folks. Contracts and bonds and insurance certificate and all the other documents.
Great,
Thank you.
Will
thank
that
you.
cause traffic problems on 6th Avenue Southwest?
Most of that work is off the side of the road, so what motorists will expect to see there are some partial lane closures, but for the most part, that work's happening off the shoulder. Those shoulders are pretty wide as they are, so most of that'll be just temporary and partial lane closures, so no full road closures.
Maybe it'll slow people down to do the speed limit instead of going over.
That'd be all right, wouldn't it?
I'd be okay with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. Next on the agenda is a motion to approve the second consideration of ordinance amending ordinance designating an area of Independence, Iowa as the 2018 Independence Multi-Residential Urban Revitalization Area. I'm getting better long talking here.
This is the workforce housing site on Enterprise Drive and Enterprise Court. They do have an agreement to purchase additional property required for making the parking, or to accommodate the parking stalls from the hog slat operation. That was, the deal isn't finalized, but they entered into a verbal agreement this afternoon. So I think that will address the parking area to accommodate the 96 slots required, as demonstrated in the attached picture of the lot there. So they do have enough room to put the 96 parking stalls in there with that extra space from hog slats. And it didn't take very much.
So moved.
Second.
I do have a motion and a second. Could I have a roll call, please?
Hill,
Yes.
Scharf,
Yes.
Kurtz.
Yes.
O'Laughlin.
I'd like to make it contingent on them acquiring the property and getting the 96 stalls.
I think, I don't want to be difficult, but I don't think that you can make your vote contingent. I think you have to vote yes or no.
No.
Hannah,
Yes.
Callahan,
Yes.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
This has one more time to come around.
That's correct.
Right.
Thank you.
Yeah, we just don't have any way to track a contingent vote, so.
Yeah, no,
uh,
I got you. I just wanted to clarify that.
Right.
Okay, next on the agenda is a motion to set July 26, 2021 at 6:30 PM for a public hearing for the CDBG grant application.
This is for the downtown revitalization grant. They are looking at the $500,000 grant through CDBG. We are also notified of an additional pool of funding available for expanded projects, so we may be able to add more than the original 8 facades to the project.
Do they have the 8 picked out that's going to be done?
They're not finalized on that yet. We're getting very, very close. They have a couple more that they have to finish the rendering and the cost estimates on. Right now, it appears that it's going to be primarily on the south side of the street between Third and, between Second and Third, but again, on the south side. With this additional funding, we think we can pick up a couple on the north side of the street as well. But again, until we get all those numbers to make sure that it fits into the threshold of what we can have for construction cost and the engineering goes with it.
Will that include where Oll's at?
Olds goes too far west, that's in the
Oh,
100-year
but he's-
floodplain. Right. I think that the former Circle 8 cyclery is kind of your cutoff point there, roughly.
And this motion is strictly to set the public hearing
That's correct.
for it, so.
I'd make the motion.
Second.
Do have a motion and a second. May I have a roll call, please?
Scharf,
Yes.
Kurtz.
Yes.
O'Laughlin.
Yes.
Hannah.
Yes.
Callahan.
Yes.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
Hill.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion is carried. Next, we are down to resolution authorizing sale of property of 100/106 16th Avenue Northwest.
I'd make a motion to approve it.
Second.
Do have a motion and a second.
Do they have a time frame when that's gotta be down, Todd?
So we were gonna do roughly 90 days. They're ready to get on it right away. So that first say we're gonna talk and see if they can get it taken down, have the fire department do it, but with the overhead lines and then too close to Main Street. But no, they're ready to rock and roll, so.
I believe they did, just to give them a little bit more comfort, I think they gave them 120 days in the sale agreement. But the property owners that want to purchase it think they'll be a lot quicker than that. They just want to make sure they can get the people in there and get it done. I don't think they'll take nearly that long.
Thanks, Todd.
And you don't need a roll call.
I do. I
Oh,
just
do you?
didn't write it.
Okay.
Al, do you know if the property owners, have they looked into the asbestos side of things?
I do not know that.
Okay. I'd be concerned if the fire department was gonna burn something without doing that, even though they're out of it. Typically, a residential structure doesn't apply to what's called the asbestos NESHAP law, but if you're taking two down at once, they may look at it as a bigger project that might apply to. So it might just be something to put a bug in their ear to at least reach out to the DNR and verify whether they need to be concerned with that or not.
Roll call, please.
Kurtz.
Yes.
O'Laughlin.
Yes.
Hannah.
Yes.
Callahan.
Yes.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
Hill.
Yes.
Scharf.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion is carried. Okay, next is we need to have Maggie come up here. We have a motion to approve a resolution awarding general obligation corporate purpose bonds, Series 2021.
Thank you
You
very
got
much.
some
It's a
good
mouthful, I
news
know.
for us.
We have great news. So Al and I participated this morning and watched both sales for the GO and the water revenue bonds. I'm sorry, I'm Maggie Berger with Spear. And as we were watching the $2.77 million of general obligation corporate purpose bond series 2021, the first bid that came in was Bankers Bank at a 1.09. It is closed auction, which means nobody but myself, Al, and the employees in my office were able to see the results. Even the bidders, they just know they submitted their bid. They know nothing more. And Al says, gosh, wouldn't it be awesome if we could just get under 1%? And about 5 minutes later, in came UMB Bank out of Kansas City, Missouri, at a 0.9736%. So we are recommending that we would award this evening. There were 7 bids received, and you are going to receive $8,163.75 in premium. And really what that means is, we'll take a look here in a couple of pages. The underwriter wanted higher interest rates than today's market, but to get that, they need to pay you money up front to do that. So they were willing to pay you that $8,000. Those interest rates, you can see, really had about a 20 basis point range there, which is a fairly decent amount of range for $2,770,000. As part of our process 2 weeks ago, we did sit with Moody's Investor Service, and the City of Independence did maintain its A2 rating. We've included the Moody's rating report and done some highlighting. I always point out factors that could lead to a downgrade, a trend of declining reserves and cash balances. So I know that that's always a fine balancing act, keeping those cash balances. But I will remind you that rating agencies and underwriters like to know that you could operate the city with no cash coming in for months at a time. So Again, we feel there's really not a lot of pressure. You scorecard out with Moody's, if we just put everything on paper, in the A1 category, which is a higher rating than the assigned A2 category. It takes a lot for a committee at Moody's to increase or raise your rating, and I'm fairly certain coming off of a pandemic year, they're not raising anybody's ratings this year. So something to keep in mind in the future as we move forward, that, potentially as you're scorecarding out in that A1, if things continue to move forward as they have been for the city in great strides, you very well might achieve that A1 rating in the future, that upgrade. Again, you can see that UMB Bank, their interest rates were a 1 to a 1.15. So when I said they wanted higher interest rates than today's market probably starts at a 0.3, goes up to the 1.15, but there's a lot of interest rates in between there. So again, that's how you got that $8,000 in premium. We gave you the 2 pages of all of the bids. We do point out that Bankers Bank, who was third on this bid, did have Northeast Security Bank here, the local branch of Independence, bidding with them, which means they were interested in some of that. The call feature on the final debt service schedule on the back page is June 1st of 2028, which means at that time you would be able to call the bonds in. You would be able to refinance basically if they were at 0 and nothing really more than that. Or at that time, you can just go ahead and continue to pay the bonds till maturity. That call is only at your option. Nobody can call those bonds in on you at that time. So with that, I'd answer any questions about this first resolution, awarding the $2,770,000 of general obligation corporate purpose bonds, Series 2021, to UMB Bank at the 0.9736%.
You've been doing much better than your dad did for him.
I'm going to tell him that, for sure. I'm going to call him on the way home and tell him that.
I'd make a motion to approve the resolution.
Second.
Do we have a motion and second? Roll call?
O'Laughlin,
Yes.
Hannah,
Yes.
Callahan. Yes. Rodriguez.
Yes.
Hill,
Yes.
Scharf,
Yes.
Kurtz.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion is carried. So
Don't
now,
tell your dad my address, though, when
make sure you give him his name, though, so they know
That's
who it
right.
is to blame. Okay, next is a resolution awarding water revenue loan agreement bonds, Series 2021.
Yes, thank you. As you can see, we did sell $1,140,000 of water revenue bonds, Series 2021. This is part of your water portion of the DOT project. The sewer portion, because it was smaller, was included in the GO bond issue. We decided that it made sense for you not to have cost of issuance on that piece of it, but including this 1.14 million, we thought made sense to break it out. We did originally had planned to use the SRF program. Due to some timing, we were unable to use that program. And so we're very happy to report this evening that we are recommending the bid from Bankers Bank of Madison, Wisconsin at the interest rate of 1.5396%. And that really does track with what we're seeing in the market today between GO bonds that are fully backed by property taxes or have the backing of property taxes versus a revenue bond that only has the backing of that revenue source itself. That 53 to 56 basis points there, that 0.5%, is really kind of where that difference is. You do only see that you have 2 bids. We did not have this rated. A couple of reasons. We weren't sure that we would bring in enough bids at this size. And also Moody's has a program for revenue bonds, and you pay an annual fee, no matter if they touch those bonds or do any kind of upgrades or downgrades or review of those ratings, and that was just not something we felt was necessary on this water revenue bond. We thought that was a cost savings to the city. I cannot be disappointed at all in these two interest rates that came in. We're very happy. Bankers Bank, again, as in the first bid, did bid with Northeast Security Bank of Independence. So that means that that bank is going to get part of this deal or all of it. They don't usually share that information with us, but if you know people, you can probably ask around and find out. And those interest rates range from a 0.35 down to a 1.9. Anything under 1%, especially in those first few years on a revenue bond is just phenomenal. So we're very happy to see that. Overall, if you keep this one till maturity, and this does go out for 14 years, we worked with the city to keep that under 20 years, which would have been our intent with the SRF loan. But again, going out and selling this in the municipal market, we worked very diligently to try to keep that at that 14-year years or under the 15 years, which I think is what helped the interest rate out there as well. These bonds are callable on June 1st of 2029, so about 1 year after the others. And so at that time, if interest rates are lower than the remaining rates, you could refinance, you could pay off, or you could pay in part, or you can just keep them out there and pay, continue to pay the debt service as it is scheduled. With that, we would recommend that you would sell the $1,140,000 of Water Revenue Bond Series 2021 to Bankers Bank of Madison, Wisconsin, at an interest rate of 1.5396%.
Thank you.
So moved.
Second.
I do have a motion and a second. May I have a roll call?
Hannah,
Yes.
Callahan. Yes. Rodriguez.
Yes.
Hill,
Yes.
Scharf,
Yes.
Kurtz,
Yes.
O'Laughlin.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion is carried. It's always good to have you here.
It was nice to see everybody in person, so thank you
It's been a while. Thanks a lot.
You too.
She probably looked up here and thought she was in Monticello.
We're kind of neighbors now, so.
Okay, next item on my agenda is a motion to approve a resolution that increases the hourly wage for the Independence Reserve Police officers.
So I asked for this, and I know we kind of talked about it in our committee meetings, but with the way things are going on in society, and you're seeing all these pay increases for everywhere around us, I mean, even music stations starting an employee off at $19 an hour. I just felt that the $15 an hour for our reserves was awful low, considering the job that they do and that they come out and try to help us. They have to donate 2 days a month or 16 hours every single month, even to be eligible to be paid. And I know when you're looking at the number, it might look like a higher number, but for them to actually come out and work and get paid, the full-time guys have to actually deny that they want to come out and work overtime. So if we did have a full-time guy come out and work those same hours, when we have to have 2 officers out, we're paying them time and a half, which is a lot more than what the reserve would be paying if they came out. Other than that, it'd be our special events, you know, like 4th of July events and things like that, or if they had to come out for a court case. But it's kind of a sliver of time that they're actually even eligible to come out and get paid. And looking at the budget of what I saw last year, we only spent it, I believe it was like $1,700 for the entire year when we had $5,000 budgeted. So even if you took that pay increase to that same budget year, we would still come in under budget. So it was one of those things that I just thought that maybe they deserved it, and so I brought it to the committees to kind of get your guys' opinion, and so that's just kind of where I feel like it should be.
I agree with you. With the labor market, what it is, it makes sense.
Brian, for those that might not have picked up on it, will you talk briefly about the difference in the reserve officers to your full-time patrol, what they're able to do and kind of what they bring to the table?
So our reserve officers, like I said, they donate a lot of time. With the training and everything they've gone through, they can do almost everything a full-time officer can do. There are only a few areas with implied consent and things like that through the DOT that they're not allowed to sign off on. So they can perform the duties of a regular officer. There's just a few things that are selected by only a certified peace officer may perform those things. And our reserve officers are always working while there's another officer on duty. So
they don't ever come out, they don't take the place of an officer to fill shifts. They can't do that by Iowa code. But like I said, there are a few things, but realistically, they're still going to the domestic calls, the accident scenes, they're out in traffic, they're responding to all the dangerous calls that every other officer is. And when they come out to do that, like I said, 2 days a month, they're volunteering their time, and the time that they'd actually be even eligible to receive this pay increase. I think it's just a very small window of opportunity for the entire that they're actually getting. And I just like to see them rewarded a little bit more for the time and energy that they do put in to come out for us.
So the public knows, if they haven't put in their 16 hours of volunteer time per month, even if they come out to work the 4th of July, they cannot be paid.
Right. There's certain things that they're not eligible to be paid unless they're doing their volunteer time.
Yep.
And that's one of the things that I plan on watching, is if they're not getting that volunteer time in, then I'm sorry, but you're not going to get it. And then if they are missing volunteer times for a couple months and then they realize, say, we got 4th of July coming up, I know I'm going to be able to come out and get paid because I got to come out and work the parade or something. Well, I'm sorry. I mean, if you missed all these months and now all of a sudden in June you're out working a bunch, I just don't think that that's fair. So that falls on me to be watching their hours and then hold them accountable. And if that's the case, they might get put on like a 60 or 90-day probation and not be able to come out and work for pay because they're not following the rules that they set out to do. So
Is that a problem usually, Brian?
not normally, Deb. What I'm seeing now is just kind of recently, it's just the fact that, you know, some people are just getting burnt out. They're working. Our reserves have full-time other jobs, and in those other jobs, they're working more hours probably too, because like everywhere else is short-staffed. So they're working a lot of hours. But I really haven't seen a big thing where they're not getting their hours in. So,
This is probably an incentive for them to get that, so possibly they can get some better wages.
right, and to know that if you are going to, that it just makes it more enticing for them to come out and help out, you know, on their own, especially when we need the help, so.
Brian, if they were, say, behind 8 hours of volunteer time, say they were gonna work the 4th of July weekend, could they apply that 8 hours to that? They have to reach their goal of their 16 hours the month previously. Okay.
So if I look at June and I pull up and we track all their hours, if I pull up June for our 4th of July and they don't have their 16 hours in June, they're not going to come out and get paid. If they want to come out and do that time to aid in their volunteer time for July, excellent, then you'll be covered for August if a situation arises. And like I said, with it being such a small window of opportunity, I think they realize, hey, we need to get our hours in, so.
And I think you alluded to it already that, I mean, if I said I wanted to be a reserve officer today, it could be almost a year before I was of any value to you by the time I went through all the training and everything else. So when you lose one, you just can't pick up somebody. It's just like getting a police officer that we've got to send to the academy.
Right. Yep. It's the same thing. We're still looking at close to a year lag time. And that's if, for a reserve officer, if they come out and they're getting their volunteer time in and going above and beyond. But they still have to be checked off by one of our field training officers to say that they have been properly trained and that now that they're okay and they're good to go. So kind of the longer it takes them, if they only put in their 2 days a month, it's obviously going to take them much longer to get that training and everything in that they need to have before they would be released as a fully trained reserve.
What if you had, you know, we see a lot of officers leaving for other professions, you know, that may be higher paying, less stress. If somebody wanted to be a reserve officer at this rate and they were already a certified police officer but had left law enforcement, would they have to go through the whole training process for reservist?
In order to be recognized as a reserve officer, you would have to go through the modules. There's module blocks of training that you have to do, and then we have to send those records down to the academy in Des Moines, and then that's when they approve it. If you had somebody that was out of law enforcement, I mean, you'd almost be hiring them back as a regular officer at that point if they were already certified. And if they've been out of it for a period of time, they might have to go down to Des Moines for a week for a refresher and stuff to get their certification back up to date. But then they would be basically on as a as a regular officer at that point.
Okay.
So that'd fit more with a part-time officer versus a reserve classification.
Correct. Yep.
I'd make the motion to approve this.
Second.
We do have a motion and a second to approve the pay increase. May I have a roll call, please?
Callahan? Yes. Rodriguez?
Yes.
Hill?
Yes.
Scharf?
Yes.
Kurtz?
Yes.
O'Laughlin?
Yes.
Hannah?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion is carried. Next on the agenda is a motion to approve a salary resolution for the police captain.
This ties back to Captain Lau's time as captain. When he was promoted to captain, we had an assistant chief. The intent is not to replace assistant chief, but in fact, the captain's position will become the assistant chief in the department. He has been working just barely, at a wage just barely higher than the sergeants, but he's not eligible for overtime. This does correct that and bring him in line with where the assistant chief's salary would be or should be now that Assistant Chief Meyer has retired.
I make the motion to approve it.
Second.
Do you have a motion and a second to approve the pay increase? May I have a roll call, please?
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Hill?
Yes.
Scharf?
Yes.
Kurtz?
Yes.
O'Laughlin?
Yes.
Hannah?
Yes.
Callahan? Yes.
Thank you. Motion is carried. Next, I have a motion to approve a resolution to assess property owners for Chapter 52 mowing failure to comply.
So moved.
Second.
I do have a motion and a second.
On this one, we've only had the one property that's been mowed all year.
Yep.
And there certainly is more properties than that. I've got one next door that you go right past to get to that one. It's got weeds 3 feet tall. Hasn't been touched. I mean, we gotta get the other ones, if they're over 8 inches, and go by the code.
All right. So, yeah, I can agree with that, but I'm also have priorities over that right now, especially with the sidewalk programs going on, street repairs going on. If you see these these properties, you gotta let me know. I'm not driving around looking for long grass in these. The other day, I received 79 phone calls and met with 40 people for sidewalks. I don't have time to look for the long grass, so, I mean, it'd be nice to address every single property, but I have to prioritize all the stuff that's going on right now, so. But if you see something, let me know. I mean, please give me a call, then I'll address it, but I'm not gonna drive around and just look for long grass, so.
I don't say drive around, but I just ride around town and I see them, so it's like, okay, I see that, I'm gonna write that address down, and,
Well, then, let me know about them.
but I mean, just city employees, period. Any.
Yeah, well, if you see all these, though, you gotta let me know, like I said. I mean, if you're kinda looking for long grass, call me and say, hey, Todd,
I'm
this
not looking
address.
for it, I just see it because it's an eyesore.
Yeah.
But when you see it and you have that address, just call him and leave a message or text him or something so he knows what they are.
Yeah, that'd be the easiest way. I mean, any of you guys, if you see any issues, just let me know, so.
I'd make the motion to approve this.
Second.
You have a motion and a second to approve the assessment. Property owner may I have a roll call, please.
Hill?
Yes.
Scharf?
Yes.
Kurtz?
Yes.
O'Laughlin?
Yes.
Hannah?
Yes.
Callahan? Yes. Rodriguez?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion is carried. Okay. Next, I need a motion to approve a change order 1 for the Highway 150 reconstruction project for the amount of 36. Did I miss one?
G.
Which one did I miss? This one?
Resolution.
One down, right there.
That's showing me the assessed property owner.
Yep, right there, that's the one, there it lit up. Yep.
Okay. Motion to approve a resolution that approves and confirms plan specifications, former contract, and estimated cost for the City Hall roof replacement project.
This is approving the final contract with,
Thank you.
oh, I missed the name of it here.
Service roofing.
Service Roofing, thank you, to replace the roof on City Hall here.
I make motion to approve it.
Second.
Do you have a motion and a second to approve? May I have a roll call, please?
Sharf?
Yes.
Kurtz?
Yes.
O'Laughlin?
Yes.
Hannah?
Yes.
Callahan? Yes. Rodriguez?
Yes.
Hill?
Yes.
Looks like I skipped several, huh? Next is downtown parking.
All right, got some paperwork for everyone.
Thanks, sir.
I'm gonna give it to you the right way, so you're not flipping it around.
That's good for me.
There you go. So, as we talked about before, we're gonna be painting some lines downtown. So this is basically gonna be First Street East, from basically Chong Garden down to City Hall. And it'll be the first block of, second and third. And then what this is showing is all the areas of how many we're gonna be getting. So, as you can see, Color Divine right across there, 4. The reason that is on the west side, we have the fire hydrant, and the other one, they have that radius there where we need to keep it off there. And then it also shows like all the H's, those are all the handicap spots. So as you can see in bold, it's 109 street parking and 5 handicap spaces is what we're gonna be having by doing this. ADA, or not just ADA, but the requirements are 9 feet wide, which doesn't matter in this case, being that it's on the street. The length though is 18-foot minimum. And this is only for street parking, so off-street parking is different. In the ordinance, it's 10 feet minimum wide and by 20 feet long. These ones, we are gonna be over that minimum. We're gonna be around 19 to 19 and a half feet long. And by doing this, this is the amount of spots we're able to acquire downtown.
Do we already have the 5 handicap spots there now?
Yeah, this is all the ones that we have right now.
I mean, this doesn't change just by marking them. We already have them downtown.
Yeah, we already have them. This just shows that, so instead of like Color Divine, where if you got 2 big trucks, and they're staggered, now we're gonna have 4 dedicated spots. And then later on, when we do the maximum parking, like 3-hour parking in certain areas, those business owners will be parking in the back to allow for their patrons to be over here, so.
And so if somebody parks in between them, and you come up behind them, you've got to get back and try to stay in your spot. Same thing they're doing.
Yeah, basically, we're trying to make it so we can get the most amount of people into this area.
Is that a big issue downtown with that?
It is.
Yeah, there's quite a bit of issues, especially there's a few business owners that like to park out front, and that makes the customers in the back, you need more, it's more inviting when you have these as well. I mean, it's kind of a free-for-all right now.
Well, I think part of the issue is helping people understand how to park, maybe would be the polite way to put it. And we've had requests from people downtown to put the parking stalls in. The fact that we haven't had them in many, many years, we wanted to make sure the council understood what we were doing. The length of the stalls is a little bit different than our off-street parking requirement. We want to make sure you understand that. I think the 19-foot is a good number. I think it is a minimum. I know 18 is the absolute minimum, but that gets really tight when you start trying to parallel park.
Part of it is we've always talked about how many spaces available. And I guess we've got Mark and Brian here, but are we big enough, wide enough to do angle parking instead of parallel?
No.
Because I've watched some
Yeah, we're
people
far
try
too
to
narrow.
parallel
By
park.
probably,
It's
20
a
feet?
nightmare.
I would say. And then with that, you also have to go wider at the angle stall, so you're gonna fit less over that way anyways, too, so.
I still think we need to give instructions for parking to people to offer their lessons.
It's called driver's ed.
They don't have that available for old people.
$20
Sure they do.
session lesson.
Take a-
Yeah, right.
refresh.
Growing up in Chicago, I learned how to parallel park really well.
You guys have any questions on any of this?
No, it's good.
When are you gonna start that, Todd?
Yeah.
This will probably have to be done at nighttime, obviously, so we might even cone off one area. If we're able to do it during the day, great, but I might have the guys come in and do it at night. And then we're also gonna be doing some of the parking lots to kind of show what's city. That's another big issue is you get city parking lot and then you have the apartment owners or the renters parking in those spots and they really shouldn't be. So we have enough parking spaces around here and the apartments have their own parking for just them, so.
Great idea.
Yeah, very good. Thanks,
Doesn't
Todd.
need a motion of any kind, though, does it?
No, it's just
Okay. Strictly for
getting the council's
information.
input on it and making you aware.
Okay. Now I'm down to the one I started with, huh? Motion to approve change order 1 for the Highway 150 reconstruction project in the amount of $36,503.75.
It's hard to believe, but I'm gonna make that motion. Second.
Did you say something, Carl?
Brian did a good job explaining that it was quite well done, and I guess for TV land, I've been known not to like change orders for quite some time, and sometimes I feel they're necessary and sometimes I don't, but this is one I do, by the way, so just to let everybody know, that's why they look at me when they say that. Okay.
I did get a second also?
Yes.
Okay. May I have a roll call, please?
Kurtz,
Yes.
O'Laughlin.
Yes.
Hannah,
Yes.
Callahan. Yes. Rodriguez.
Yes.
Hill,
Well, if Carl's supporting this, I have to vote yes.
Scharf.
Yes.
I was gonna say, if you said no after that, I was going to really be shocked. Thank you, motion is carried. We'll see what the next one does. Motion to approve a change order for the airport apron and taxi line rehab project in the amount of $47,780.
I'd make a motion to approve it.
Second.
I do have a motion and a second. Any other discussion?
I will point out that this change order, while it adds to our project cost, is 100% funded by FAA dollars.
May I have a roll call, please?
O'Laughlin.
Yes.
Hannah,
Yes.
Callahan. Yes. Rodriguez.
Yes.
Hill,
Yes.
Scharf,
Al's notation convinced my vote, definitely yes.
Kurtz.
Yes.
You gotta quit waking us up down here, Al, with those kind of comments.
Next is a commercial restoration rehabilitation grant request from Olds.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion, second. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Hannah,
Yes.
Callahan. Yes. Rodriguez.
Yes.
Hill,
Yes.
Scharf,
Yes.
Kurtz,
Yes.
O'Laughlin.
Yes.
Thank you, motion is carried. Next on the agenda is a motion from the library.
This is not an action item, it is a discussion item. We were asked to discuss the library's request for additional funding to do sprinkler system repairs. I think this issue is resolved.
Can you tell the breakdown, Al, of how it was paid?
The library was using, between their general fund and their CIP, and I'm not sure where, but they are paying the initial roughly $10,000 for the repair for the sprinkler system. There's another roughly $11,000, $12,000 that will be required to finish the work that they received their quotes on. Because of the favorable bids for the City Hall roof, we'll take it out of the City Hall CIP. When I met with the library director and chairperson, I assured them that this was a priority because it's a sprinkler system in the library, It's not something we have an option on, and it has to be repaired. We're fortunate to find this funding to take care of it. It will take a budget amendment at the end of the year because we're spending money out of two different functions. That's just a detail, but this is taken care of so that they can be working on that now. And I believe they're getting ready to start maybe even this week.
They've worked hard on getting engineer reports, and it's been a mess for them.
I think the library has done an exceptional job in finding solutions that are more palatable than maybe their original estimate for going in and tearing out the entire ceiling in the highest part of the library to replace the piping, and then putting it back behind the ceiling. They're going to drop the sprinkler system below the ceiling. I know aesthetically not as appealing as what it is currently, but I think it's more practical, not just now, but down the road for future maintenance and ongoing serviceability. And it turned out to be much, much less expensive.
Very good. Okay, next on the agenda is bounce houses in city parks. Proposed liability waiver.
This is the ICAP liability waiver. If the council wants to adopt this for bounce houses in city parks, we would ask that anybody wishing, as they reserve the parks or lease park areas, they would have to take on this liability waiver at the same time. But it would take council putting this into place for us to do that.
I make the motion, we approve it.
Would this also cover if they brought in a trampoline?
In general, it would be any of those activities, as I understand it. I can clarify that with ICAP, but yes, that would be my understanding.
How's this relate to like a special event, like in regards to the celebration we just had where we have bounce houses and we contract with them? Do we have to have an additional waiver in addition to the application that we make to have the event?
Remind me, Juan, I believe that the Celebration Committee has an insurance policy already.
We do.
Right.
We do.
Which would, in fact, we don't require insurance from these people that lease the park. That would be the difference. The liability waiver comes in because we don't ask them to come. If somebody wants to use the park for the evening, we don't
So
ask them to come
this is
up with
more
insurance.
for individuals versus organizations that
That's
are
correct.
doing something.
If you're doing a special event, there's a liability in the insurance coverage that we gain from
I'll
it.
make sure it's
This would be
clear.
like for a birthday party or something like that.
Exactly.
Are there
I make a motion, we approve it.
Second.
I think.
I think we
Ms.
already
Hannah
have
made
one.
the motion. Would you like to second it, John?
I did.
Would you like to give me a roll call on this? Don't need it?
I didn't put it down, but I can do one if you want.
Would
I
this be something that Bob would take care of when they call him at the rec center?
That's correct. That's where they go if they want to reserve park space or lease park space. They go through him, so it's primarily through his department.
And then through these kind of parties or whatever they call down there, there's no alcohol allowed down there without a permit for that, is that right?
They cannot obviously sell alcohol down there. I don't know that we police it to say they can't have any.
You can't, why would you be able to have alcohol when you're
I didn't think you could have it in city parks unless it was approved like through, the vendors, like special events.
I would think as long as it wasn't sold.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, you don't see much of it, so I just figured you
Well,
could.
I think if you have their family picnic, I'm not saying anything, but, they'll have a couple of beers or something like that. Pack it in your cooler and then you
Except if you're on city property, they could get you for, public, yeah, there you go, Brian.
So actually, yeah, you're not allowed to consume alcoholic beverages while you're within the public. So they would not be allowed to have that kind of stuff going on in the park or going down the sidewalk or wherever. It'd be against the Iowa code for them to actually do so. So it's not something that we're probably out diligently looking for to try to bust somebody for something like that. But no, it's for our department. It's not condoned to consume in public, and that being a city park.
I believe it's also not permissible to smoke in public, in city parks.
Correct.
And
That
they
is
do
correct.
that all the time.
That is correct.
So is it possible for somebody to come in to use the park and not bother to call and reserve anything and put up a bouncy house? I mean,
Sure, if they
because
came
don't
in
we
in the
do
morning, set
the,
it up, and we're done by 3 or 4 in the afternoon, they could sneak in, sneak out.
There is no requirement that you reserve a park to have an event. If they want to use a shelter, walk in, most of the people that reserve it
first
have a.
come, first serve?
Right, most of the people that reserve it, they have an event, they want to make sure that they have that dedicated space.
Right.
I think if we found somebody putting up a bounce house without reserving it, we would want to make sure that we secured a liability waiver from them if we can get there in time. I think there's a good chance that, especially if it's in the evening, that might not happen. I don't want to suggest that we have the ability to police every park.
So it's pretty much just using the park down at the.
The only place that we've seen it is down by the band shell or in the Riverwalk Parks area.
Does
But I don't
it
wanna-
take a while to
There's
put
been
one
one
of
in
them up?
Third Ward Park,
Has there?
yeah, a couple times.
Does it take a while to put one of those things up?
Oh, yeah, a company comes in and does it usually.
The
The ones
people,
down there, you see
these
that.
people just brought it in, then they
Oh.
plugged into the pole by the shelter on the north end, and,
I think you could have a bounce house up in 10 or 15 minutes if you wanted to.
yeah.
I mean, depending on the size of it, of
Right,
course.
and
I
they
mean,
had,
larger
the
the-
fans to blow it up.
Ended up with one of those fans once somehow that got left behind and abandoned, and I thought I could use it in my building. And it was like a jet engine blowing air there. Just not any other use for that thing. On the alcohol piece, I didn't pull the Iowa code, but I know cities are able to pass ordinances to allow alcohol to be consumed in your parks. And I had read this a while ago, in Iowa City, for example, they just updated their ordinance, and I'm not sure if the Independence Code speaks to this or not. But a lot of city codes speak to alcohol use in public places like parks, park environments. They allow beer and wine, and now the thing is seltzers kind of get thrown in there, but no hard alcohol is a lot of times what I've seen. So that is something you could consider, and I think, yeah, family reunions, other things, you're gonna have it going on. But throw that out there.
My only concern is, at what point do we get just too restrictive? I mean, you gotta let people be people. And from a government perspective, I mean, we can't control everything.
That's for sure.
Can we just have that looked at, Al, and maybe come back with a recommendation?
Yes.
I think this is good on the waiver thing. I think we should probably do a roll call on it.
Right. I do have a motion and a second on this. Yeah, I do want a roll call.
Callahan?
Yes.
Rodriguez?
Yes?
Hill?
Yes.
Scharf?
Yes.
Hertz?
Yes.
O'Laughlin?
Yes,
Hannah?
Yes,
Thank you, motion is carried. Okay, next is a motion to approve a one-year renewal of the FBO lease as provided for in the current agreement.
Missed one.
Did I miss one again? Volunteer waiver of liability.
oh, yeah, didn't
The letter G,
This is
No,
this is a, we
obviously
have people that
not.
would like to volunteer to do activities for the city on city property. Again, it's just a best practice. I don't think that there's a requirement that we have it, but I think it would be in our best interest to consider this so that when these folks come in, we have a way to protect the city's interests.
So,
Is that like they're in there doing their flower beds and stuff, or?
Yeah, I mean, we've had people asking to do things on behalf of the city, painting the fire hydrants, for example.
And they just have to sign waivers, all to do it.
Right, it's just one more level of protection.
Raking the dog park.
Yeah, yes.
Any waiver signed, will we?
just because that Doberman's out there when you're trying to rake it.
I make the motion to approve.
second.
Do you have a motion and a second to approve the volunteer liability waiver? May I have a roll call on this also?
I have a question for you. How are we gonna monitor?
Well, generally, when somebody wants to volunteer for the city, they're going to approach Parks Department, which would be the most common, the Utility Department, for in the case of fire hydrants. They'll ask us, hey, can we do this project? Or that's been our experience with
Is
that.
that going to be extended to, like, when groups want to do city cleanup, things like that? You know?
It should be, yes.
I mean, it's just a matter of, you know, again, how do we communicate that to those kinds of groups? They're trying to do something good for the community, and now they got to go get a waiver.
Well,
So-
if they're going out and doing it on their own without talking to us, we don't have a way to police that. If they're approaching parks or utilities or street department, city hall, we have a way of understanding who's doing what. You know, they come in, they ask, hey, can we do, you know, fill in the blank. A couple of years ago, we had a group that came in, wanted to paint traffic lights. It's a great project, we support it, we bought the paint, but something like that, we would use this liability waiver and just have them sign that.
So this would be like some Kids for Silver Cord Hours or something like that,
Absolutely.
that they would approach the city and say, hey, can we do something to volunteer?
Hey, we didn't sign anything before the TVs and stuff.
Statute of
So does
limitations.
this mean the councilmen or council people are going to have to sign this waiver before our amnesty day?
No, but it would be something, again, it's just designed to give one more level of protection to the city. I don't want to tell you it's a cure-all, but it does protect us in most cases.
Is
To Juan's
ICAP
point,
making some of these recommendations or requests, or?
This one did not come straight from ICAP. This one came out as a byproduct of somebody asking if they could do some activity for the city. And it was just generated that conversation, and through Mr. Herman's help, we developed this waiver to help protect the city.
I guess my only concern is, you know, you got garden groups that want to go in, flowers, and, you know, things like that, and they can do it and all. At the same time, you know, that in some cases, you know, get some people who say, we gotta get a waiver for this kid. So, that's really, maybe
Discouraged.
clearer about who needs it and who doesn't.
Again, we don't want to discourage anybody, that's not the goal or the intent. But if somebody were to trip, fall down, we had a case with a volunteer that was stepped in a hole.
Didn't at one time now, didn't we have to ICAP there was a volunteer insurance, it was like 10 individuals that could go under this policy. Didn't we have that at one, long time ago?
So,
We still do.
Yeah. I knew ICAP did it or whatever, it was added to our policy, amended if you will. Okay, I thought we did.
It's still there.
Still there, okay, thank you.
I know when Al and I talked about this, I think the general intent of it, while you could try to catch everything, it was more to try to catch the specific individuals who are going to be maybe more of a regular volunteer, kind of maybe under almost the direction and supervision of paid city staff. But you're right, it would be difficult to enforce and catch, and you have to have somebody almost on staff to chase everybody down who might be doing something for the city if you wanted to do that. But I think just in those unique situations where maybe you have a retired resident who says, I've got my CDL, or I used to do this and I'm retired now and I can hop in and help plow snow, or I'll shovel sidewalks in front of city buildings, or those circumstances is what I think we were talking about.
I think something like that warrants probably having some kind of description of, you know, what requires this, you know. So for instance, like what you just said, somebody who wants to come in and volunteer some time to the city and give back with whatever they want to do, you know, and because we don't want to discourage people from, you know, maybe deciding they want to go pick up all the garbage in the gutters over one day. So. Not that they would probably seek to sign sign the waiver anyway, but you know what I mean? I mean, it just, again, it just goes back to what I said earlier. I mean, we have waivers for waivers anymore.
So did we get a motion on this?
And a
Or
second.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Rodriguez,
No.
Hill,
Yes.
Scharf,
Yes.
Kurtz,
Yes.
O'Laughlin,
Yes.
Hannah.
I see Juan's point about it. Maybe.
That wasn't an option. Maybe it's not an option, Deb.
You got it already anyway. Yes.
Yes.
Thank you, motion's
I'm
carried.
sorry, wait, go ahead.
Callahan,
I just wouldn't police it.
Oh,
Plant flowers, unplant flowers.
I keep telling people our meetings are entertaining. Okay, now, I'm down to a motion to approve a one-year renewal for the FBO lease as provided for in the current agreement.
I've been asked by several people that we should relook at him getting fuel prices out there. If we should, a lot of the citizens don't think that PNN should get the fuel prices. The city should get it.
3 years ago, we had a lengthy conversation about this. Part of the challenge is balancing out, sharing the fuel sales, having the services that we have out there. And some airports are actually having to pay the FBO to provide services at their airport, which is something I don't think we want to, I don't think that's a place we want to go with our airport. In visiting with Cole, the president of the FBO, of PNN, they're happy with where they're at. I think it's working right now, and it's
How many
a good
hours
place
a
to-
week are they out there?
Well, they are covering when, primarily on weekends, when we don't have a full-time person out there. Beyond that, I can't tell you how much they're out there. They are providing flight lessons, and they are doing some testing in their test center. This past year would be a very difficult time to gauge it on, because with the pandemic, I think everything has been fairly convoluted. They did give, as an example, I think it was 130 rides over the 4th of July event, so they were very busy promoting aviation out at the airport, too.
That should have been some good income for them. Was it
Oh.
chopper ride 50 and airplane 25, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But you hear them, they were in the sky all the time. That was good, though. That was good. That was good. I guess, I don't have a problem with the fuel thing if everything. I just, I had a concern with two people. This last weekend or the weekend before, I'm not at the airport. But there was an individual there that's taking flight lessons, and only know these people for a week or two, and all of a sudden we've given him the keys to the airport, look over that to this airport. I don't know.
PNN, like you said, has agreed that they would cover certain hours on the weekend when we don't have the airport manager there. The airport manager is limited to 40 hours a week. I was asked this question this morning. I will tell you the same thing, the same answer I gave them. There is nothing in the lease that allows us to require certain levels of experience or types of people for this coverage. We don't have any control over PNN or their employees if they're hiring.
Well, that's what I'm saying, there was an accident, if there was a tragedy, who's this individual, contacts and things like that. I mean, who knows what can happen out there? I'm just saying, we need to be covered in all cases. And so, is this the individual there and there's something that happens and because he's not a city employee, whatever, is he employed by them or is he a volunteer? Who covers?
He's employed by PNN.
He's employed by them?
Yes,
Okay.
he is a PNN employee.
Okay.
He's answering to PNN under this scenario.
Okay.
You know, I don't want to try and make up information that I don't have as far as,
Yeah.
you know, I assume that he would call PNN or if there's an accident, he's going to call 911. I think that's pretty straightforward, but
Or, you know, just I'm saying there's an incident of whatever, as long as he's got a way to get a hold of Cole or a contact number, so this individual doesn't have the decision so much upon themselves, because obviously, maybe they're not prepared to, I don't know.
I understand, but again, you know, it would be a P&M employee, not a city employee.
You answered my question there. Thank you.
The airport board did vote 2-1 on Wednesday night to approve the one-year extension of the contract. I will tell you that I don't believe the contract should fall into the automatic renewal. I think that we should be proactive in our action on all of our contracts, and this would be the same. If we do nothing, it automatically renews. But in this case, we are being affirmative in our,
Have we solicited from other firms to see if they're interested?
not at this point, because the contract allows for, you know, one of three things. We can give a termination notice.
Right.
And then renegotiate. We could go out and solicit additional firms, in which case we'd have to terminate the agreement and start over. We can do nothing and let it roll over for 1 year. Or we can, in this case, be affirmative and say we're going to deliberately allow it to extend another year.
What was the reason the person voted against it?
I think that they discussed concern about the fuel sales and whether or not P&N should have all the fuel sales, if I understand it
They have 40%.
right. Right.
And then 60, city 40?
No, backwards.
60 city, 40 P&M.
There is nothing that would prohibit having another FPO on site.
We actually have 3 FBOs on the grounds right now, Bachman, Eric Munt, and, so there are officially 3 FBOs.
Another one came in and wanted to build another hangar. It's out there. Other than us giving them permission.
Correct. In essence, a land lease, if you will.
I'd make the motion that we renew the contract for 1 year.
Second.
Okay, I do have a motion and a second to approve. May I have a roll call, please?
Hill,
Yes.
Scharf,
Yes.
Kurtz,
Yes.
O'Laughlin,
Yes.
Hannah,
Yes.
Callahan,
Yes.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
Thank you, motion is carried. So we're down to reports. Anyone have something they want to report tonight?
I have just one question. I've had quite a few inquiries about Steve G. building the office space down there to get tip money. And people are asking if that's been sold. It is.
The question was if that can be discussed without being on the agenda. I would say something to bring up, to put on the agenda to have a little bit more discussion. Appropriate.
Or
I think it's probably a good topic. There's our fire, somebody got or something else, and they did something else. So you probably got a good question there.
Yeah, with
My
me being downtown at the
understanding
VFW over the weekend and the mill, I got a lot of inquiries. So, yeah, it's on the agenda for next time.
Very well.
It's coming through the speakers in the back.
Oh, quiet for a second.
from what? From, we're almost done, I guess we're good. So is there anything else anybody has that they would like to, as people start closing their,
We would like to thank the city, the businesses, all the volunteers, and all the patrons that came to our event this past weekend. I think it was a pretty good success, and we're very happy with how everything went. And it was nice to have a big event again and celebrate our independence like we should.
Correct.
Thank you for all you've done for that for years. You're the one we should be thanking.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Brian, do you have anything else for your department?
I don't have a whole lot for you. I'll have more for you guys at our next council meeting. Just to bring you up to speed a little bit, on next Monday, we're actually going to be holding our testing phase for our physical agility and also the written portion of the test for our new applicants for the hiring of a police officer. And hopefully our next council meeting, I'll have it on the agenda for the swearing in of our newly hired officer. He's been offered a conditional offer of employment that is pending his, the physical through the city. So we're just waiting on to get clearance for that. And then I'll have, like I said, more for you as an update come next council meeting on some of that stuff.
Okay, good. Todd, did you have anything?
Well, after this, please join me for my bouncy house and kegger at Third Ward.
Kegs actually require permits.
Okay.
You can just bring
Just
30.
bring
BYOB.
a cooler full of beer.
Please drink after the bouncy house. Just a little bit of what's going on. So with streets, we got potholing going on, painting. We're going to respray weeds. Tree sapping will happen as soon as we get our small engine back. We had an issue with that. Hauling rubble from the tree dump. I ended up getting a temporary storage permit for the rubble that was down there. That was from the replacement project for that we had with Feldman. And then we also have some street repairs. So there's 3 valves being fixed on 6th Avenue, and you'll see that done probably. Well, they're working on it now. They're gonna replace them tomorrow, and then we'll fill them back in on Wednesday.
Is that northeast or what?
Yeah, northeast.
Okay.
Yep. Let's see, code side, so obviously the sidewalks, we got the repair program going on, replacement, the city's all done with that, we got a bunch of ramps done. The big blue house that was gonna be torn down, they're actually renovating, so yeah, they're doing some major, the permits all in, I mean, they're gonna put well over 200,000 in that house. And then with you guys granting that tonight, we're gonna have 2 houses torn down on 100 and 106, and then I have another house being torn down right now to the northwest of Burger King. There's another garage being torn down, and then quite a few major repairs on those. And then
Big equipment behind us, the 2 houses. I guess the fairgrounds.
And then on the building, it's always busy, so Dollar Fresh is moving right along, and
The DOT approved that access on the north, access for Dollar Fresh. Yes, that was approved by DOT on the condition that they add to that driveway width. It cannot use under this permit for Compliance Plus driveway. They have to have their own drive. They are going across the trail, that is correct. Our trail is in the DOT right-of-way.
so they're gonna be adding 17 feet to the south, and then they're gonna have tons of signage, so for the trail, they'll have the small stop signs. Yeah.
My wife got hurt there. There were 6 accidents just that year in 2016. And that was between June and September.
At that Appliance Plus, okay. Yeah, no, that's all DOT's jurisdiction, so.
That intersection is a busy intersection, people stopping to turn on other lanes and stuff. I mean, I personally have lived 3 or 4 accidents where somebody's there's been granted. Like I said, it's up to the DOT, state highway, but I personally think it's their money or something. Some things are there and less than that, but again, it's DOT.
I will tell you, DOT is doing an extended study. Our TEEP study asked for them to look at that entire corridor. DOT did extend to the company doing the TEEP study a request for more look or a deeper look into a turn lane from the bridge all the way through that corridor. We asked for it all the way out to the interchange at Highway 20. But that was part of the DOT's request was, let's look at that turn lane. No promises, but they want to study that all the way through that area. We expressed our concern. The turning movements there, in particular, somebody coming out of that north entrance trying to turn south, it doesn't make a lot of sense, but we shared that with them. They issued the permit, but they did extend this study request.
Well, I don't want to go into the subject too much, but years ago, when Fairleigh was building, DOT, and you're so right, they came and, well, you guys want to come, they had a nice little thing up here, animated, blah, 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 blah. And I asked that guy, when did you take the study? Well, they took it after our softball complex had closed, but before the school opened. And then this one guy, he's looking up there, this happened, he looked over, he said, well, this alleyway, we didn't put any cords on that to count cars. I said, that's not an alleyway, that's Lover's Lane. So they never actually did a true study. And then that guy goes, okay. But they had a nice little picture up here, and I said, no, I don't know what this alley's doing. That's what and you don't either. I don't mean that's odd, you know.
Well, the thing we've always gotten back to is it's got to be a 24-hour average. They don't care if 3 hours a day it's bumper to bumper.
Exactly.
They always want 24-hour, and how many places are as busy as that is out there for 5 or 6 hours a day?
True.
I notice they've got traffic counters out by the library now.
You got them all over the place right now.
Yeah,
Lover's Lane
well-
included.
Which put them up?
DOT.
DOT, yeah.
This is part of the
They're gonna widen for.
4 year.
Yeah, there you go.
Wait, John, did you,
Is that DOT road?
traffic camera?
It's all
I think
DOT
are
boxes.
counters.
Al's got the,
Counters.
I will tell you that every 4 years, we're eligible for a DOT traffic count, and I worked with Brian on identifying additional counts that we want, because Highway 150 is under construction this year and next. So we did move counters onto 8th Street, or 8th Avenue Northeast. It's on Lover's Lane, 6th Avenue, 1st Street,
It's out there.
3rd Avenue. I mean, we tried to catch the detour routes where we know they're going to be busy because of the detour on 150. We won't catch 150 north, obviously, so,
You kind of give direction for where to put them there?
what's that?
You give DOT direction to kind of where to put those?
Yeah, Brian and I sat down and created a plan saying, hey, this is what we would like, and I think we came up with a pretty comprehensive look at traffic around town, in spite of the detour. And I didn't want to wait 4 years for, because Highway 150 is under construction. So we'll do our best to capture that traffic. It'll be pretty significant.
I have a question. The DOT decided not to open the railroad tracks, right, on 150?
Correct.
I've had several people ask, who made that dumb decision? And I said, not us.
That was because of signage, wasn't it?
That's because of, Brian can correct me, but I believe that's because of the global detour, and they don't want that open partway until the project is complete. That is closed until the project is done. Locally, those people that are really committed to getting over to the Bulletin Journal, they can do that now. But that's only the crossing motions, if you will, on 150. They're not going to open that up until the project is done.
Anything else you would like?
no, you guys have
Add?
anything for me? Turned out good. It do a great job. I was happy. Some major ones. Yeah, oh yeah.
I got to thinking, and on that one, I want you to just put my first name, because there's not too many
Okay,
Bonitas
sounds
in
good.
town.
Yep, we got a designated spot
Yeah.
for Bonnie
Yeah,
downtown.
for me downtown for handicap parking. I'm having my name put on it.
I'll make a quick comment on your airport lease, just in case you get, people question the division that you were talking about. Just for one comparison, in Monticello, the city gets 10 cents per gallon sold,
That's what we used to.
which is significantly less. Now, there are probably differences. In Monticello, it was grant money and FBO money that put the systems in, and the FBO maintains them. So there are probably some differences, but the income the city's getting is significantly higher than where Monticello would be on that front. On your leases, it's good you're looking at them every year, particularly when it's a 3-year auto renewal thing. Iowa code says if you have a lease longer than 3 years, you have to have a public hearing before you approve it. 3 years or less, you don't. So if you have a 3-year with an auto renewal and you don't have a public hearing, it can turn into a 4-year or 5-year or 6-year, which is probably violating the code. So taking an annual look at them saves that problem probably, but just something to keep in mind when you're looking at lease terms.
Another question, we were going to, well, we discussed in some of the meetings about new officers coming on, getting a $5,000 sign-on bonus. Are we going to vote on that?
At this point, we are not looking at incentives for certified officers until we finish our testing here on the 19th. Not for all officers, that's only for certified officers, because we don't have to send them to the academy.
Susie, did you have anything else you'd like to report?
No.
Al, anything?
I have 2 items for you very quickly. I received a phone call this evening from Congresswoman Hinson. Our airport project has been put into the underlying bill. Moving ahead for $1 million, taxiway, apron, parking. Moving ahead, definitive in 6 weeks, but it is alive and well, and she called to make sure that we knew that she's still working for the independents. And so we're in the money right now, if you will. And it does have to get through the Senate. She was quick to point out that the Senate is still not looked at this infrastructure bill. But, and then I will pass on that we did receive a resignation from our police chief, Dustin Dallenbach.